Time once again for the Kaufman Corner podcast with you, David Lesky from Inside the Crown, Les Norman from Breaking the Norm, of course, former Royals outfielder Les Norman, and my name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. We're going to talk arbitration. The Royals have 16, count them, sweet 16 arbitration cases that they need to decide. Everyone from Kris Bubic, Kyle Wright, Kyle Isbell, Vinny Pasquantino, Maikel Garcia, Michael Massey too. I was caught between the Michaels and the Michaels, and both of them are on the list. Who do they tender? Who do they not offer arbitration to? Are they offering long-term deals? We'll talk about that, how the injuries play a role in this. Also, the Royals making changes. As we told you last week, really, as David and Les told you last week, Keone Durena and Joe Dillon out. What went wrong with the hitting coaches? How does replacing them? How is that supposed to work? We're going to talk about it right now here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Les Norman is a former Royals outfielder. He's the host of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as the author of Teaching the Tools of Hitting. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Guys, let's dive into it and discuss arbitration, right? First of all, 16, David, that is a big number. The Royals constantly talk about controllable years when they're acquiring people. That's something they talked about again here. Again, 16. I mean, they're not going to tender all of them, are they?
I don't think they have room on the roster for all of them. Right. I was looking through the MLB trade rumors list because they listed out every single player. The Rays have 17, which I guess is not uncommon for them, but I don't remember the Royals ever having 16 guys. They generally spread it out a little better than that, but I get some of it's Super 2 players. So here, real quick, I'll throw out what the Super 2 is, just so everybody knows. It has nothing to do with quality or anything. It's literally if you are between 2 and 3 years of service time and you are in the top 22% in terms of days on the roster in that group, you are a Super 2, which means you get 4 years of arbitration. So that was the whole deal with Jack Caglione, right? That he came up a little before that deadline probably would pass for 3 years from now. It's a lot of players.
One of the things that's important to add into that, if you're going to dive into, people ask me not many people, but the people that dive into the Super 2 are like, have we passed that date? We don't know. We never know until the season is completely done because it depends on how many days are there. It's the top 22%. So if nobody comes up, that number could be really long. If lots of guys come up, that number could be shorter. So there is no known for sure date as you roll along.
You don't even know for 2 years, right? Because let's use Caglione. He came up on June 5th, I think it was 4th. If he goes down next year at some point and spends six weeks on the AAA roster, he doesn't get that service time. So he then would dip below that. And so you don't even know until you get to the year that they would be Super 2, because those guys can fluctuate quite a bit. So it's a moving goalpost, let's just say. It's generally like mid-June, but we don't ever know until a couple years later.
Yeah. So the Royals want all this control, and for good reason. They want to be able to control all these different players on their roster, but it does create they have a pretty good idea of what the number's going to be. We're working off the MLB trade rumors numbers that we're going to work with, which we even think that there's, David, you you found where you think they've made a mistake on one of them, but it at least gives you an idea of what your payroll is going to be and moving forward. And there are some names that I think are pretty quick. But when you see Taylor Clark, Kris Bubic, John Schreiber, Jonathan India, Kyle Wright, Kyle Isbell, Bailey Falter, Daniel Lynch, Sam Long, Vinny Pasquantino, Angel Zerpa, Michael Massey.
Breathe.
What's that?
Take a breath. Breathe.
Yeah. MJ Melendez, Maikel Garcia, James MacArthur, and Lucas Urseg. You're like, oh wow, that's a big part of the team. There's some guys they can't live without. There's some guys that you like to have that you don't know that you want to put it on. But there's like real meat on this bone that we're talking about here. Some teams that have 4 or 5 and their guys like, it doesn't really matter. The core of their team are all these veterans. This matters to the Royals.
Yeah, it absolutely does matter. And it's as you're trying to figure this whole thing out, once the season ends, a good GM, which I'm sure they all do this, but anybody in this business is thinking, okay, 2026, you're thinking spring training, you're thinking off seasons, and then you're thinking arbitration. So the interesting thing is arbitration can sometimes get ugly. And with this number, there's going to be a situation where you're going to have to not tender somebody, and they're going to lose, and they're going to be on the team, and all the right things are going to be said, like, oh, hey, it's just business, it's not personal, but it kind of is personal. I mean, if it were me, if I'm playing and I'm up for arbitration and I feel like I did A, they feel like I did B, let's go somewhere in the middle. The intelligent money side of you should say, hey, look, it really is just business. But basically what a player looks like is the team is saying that we don't think you're good enough to reward you. We're just going to give you that standard of living or normal kind of raise, but not what you think you and your agent thinks it's worth. And so, it's on the player then to decide, okay, am I going to show them they were wrong, or they're going to carry maybe the bitterness in through it, or they just gets to a point where, okay, well, I can already see the future. I'm going somewhere else. So there are so many narratives that play out through arbitration. And when you have this big of a number, it's 16, right? Is that what I said? It was 16. That's a big deal. I mean, when was the last time it was even close to being this big? Either of you guys know?
I don't ever remember it being this many.
Yeah.
I felt like when I saw this, I'm like, that's got to be the most they've ever had. And so you talk about,
you look back at like 2013 with all those guys that came up in 2014, they came up in 11 maybe, but yeah, sorry, didn't interrupt.
This list, the Royals have done this to themselves. This list being this big after a team that probably should have made the playoffs and didn't, and now you're trying to manage this roster and make decisions on who. This adds even more pressure with this big of an arbitration list to put a team good enough into the playoffs back on the field that gets you back to the playoffs. So it's not just about what's on there. It's not about new hitting coaches that we'll talk about. It's not about it's not just about those things. It's also about finding the right combination and who you're going to tender and who you're not. And when an arbitration list is this big, you cannot think with your heart. You got to think with your head. I understand there's loyalty, but this is also a business. And so you got to put what's best. And so I love JJ. He's an awesome dude. He's an awesome GM, I think. But this is going to put him and his group to the fire a little bit, because these decisions, you're not going to make everyone right. It's on the player, but it's also on you to make these right decisions. So this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I do think one of the things that, they got to decide, David, is, get to work on trades, right? These are controllable assets. There's some guys you want to say like, well, because of the number, no one's going to, take that on, or, but it might be that if you look at it and say, look, we believe in Michael Massey. He's going to be our second baseman. We've decided Jonathan India can't play anywhere else. We want to move Jonathan India, but his number is going to be too high. Okay, look, set the deal. We'll go through the arbitration, or we'll give you $2 million with him. We'll give you $4 million. This is one where, it can't be like David Glass was never willing to be paying salary to someone who was playing for another team. And that was an issue, right? Because it limited what you could do as far as the trades go. They've with this personnel, they can be flexible, right? Like, and they need to be flexible, and they need to be looking to hit the trade market pretty quickly.
Yeah, what's tough with the higher priced guys, and really they only have a couple higher priced guys, and they're not even that high priced, is you can't send, I don't believe you can send money with a pre-tender arbitration trade.
Okay.
So what would have to have, you'd have to have a handshake deal type thing. Like we're going to tender you a deal and come to a contract agreement. And we know that if you want to trade Jonathan India to the Rockies for whatever, and the Rockies say, look, he wants $8 million. We only want to pay him $5.5 million. If you want to trade him to us, you got to sign him to $8 million, give us $2.5 million. Then I think they can do that. That's a workaround. I actually don't even know if that's a legal workaround within the rules, but
listen, they're signing
there's got to
12, 13, 14-year-olds in the Dominican. The
Yeah,
rule is supposed to be 16. I think they can figure out a way to handle
It's your fifth grade. It's your fifth grade graduation present.
Yeah,
exactly. Congrats, you're moving on to middle school. Here's a contract. But yeah, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But you're right. I mean, there is a list of people here who I would probably tender a contract to and figure out when to trade them. You don't have to necessarily trade them before that deadline. It's just it locks in the number. Like even before they're signed, they are locked into that number. And there's something about like a sixth of the contract if you release by a certain. I think that's actually over. So I'm scratch that. But there are a lot of convoluted rules here. It's the point. It's better to trade them before you tender the contract, even before they come to a number. Because all they do in like a month, there's this non-tender deadline, and that's what we're going to talk about, obviously. But all that is saying, hey, we're going to come to a deal with you. They don't have to give you the contract yet. Like that doesn't even come until like spring training, I feel like, are the arbitration cases. So you've got up until the case to come to a deal. And all this is saying is, hey, we are going to have you. You are going to be guaranteed a contract. And that's it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't say what it is, just that you are going to have one.
All right. In the effort, because I think actually the list is pretty good in helping us weave through some of the big ones along with some of the small ones, right? So we're just going to take them in the order that MLB Trade Rumors put them in. So they did it based on service time, right? That's how they ranked them. So we're going to weave our way through all the other ones. We've got a lot to get through. So let's just start. Taylor Clark is almost 6 years. I mean, he's a guy that's kicking it, that he's not in free agency, but I don't know, David, do you put him in free agency anyway? Are you tendering or not?
For that price, around $2 million? Yeah, 100%. This guy in middle relief, he didn't walk anybody. He didn't put any base runners on. I give him a deal. If it doesn't work, whatever.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Les? Taylor Clark, are you keeping in the mix for 1.9 million is the number they're expecting to be?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you look at the service time versus what he made last year, and I'm thinking sign him the sooner the better. Because if you even get an average Taylor Clark, you're still making money based on the big league standards and salary. You're getting a bargain for that if he's average, and he was better than average. And so I would definitely at 5+ years of service time, only that $1 million raise where he's still not making $2 million, if that's projected, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you guys as well. I think that number just makes it he's too easy to slide in there and move around. And to me, he's easy to move at that number later on as you get into spring training or in the season. So if you end up having a surplus, the answer is yes. Now, again, they can make signings along the way, but this is where we are now, right? Going into it. We'll see if they pull off some trade and get 2 relievers back. Maybe we say, okay, we're going to cut bait and go. We've got better. But right now I'm a yes as well. All right, Kris Bubic. I assume at $6 million, we're all universally a yes on this one, correct?
I think 6 is low. Looking at guy, and so here's another thing, real quick. Sorry, I'm giving all the arbitration rules here, but I've been looking this up. In arbitration 3 or 4, if you're a Super 2 player, your last year of arbitration. So when you go to arbitration, you can only compare by the arbiter. You can only compare yourself to other arbitration players, other like players. In the final year of arbitration, you can start comparing yourself to free agent contracts as well. And so I think when you get to that last year of arbitration, that's why you see that huge jump for a lot of guys, is because, oh, well, I can look at Max Fried's contract if you're Kris Bubic. It shouldn't, that doesn't count. But you're not just having to look at other 26-year-old pitchers who are in ARB 2, right? Like, and so that changes things. So I actually think their number is a little bit low here for that, but whatever. I would tender him up to like 15 million, given the upside.
Yeah, I think Kris Bubic, I think it's a big question whether or not Kris Bubic. I think if you can get him healthy, if somebody would buy in, you're still considering a trade based upon you've got 1 year of control? Because I don't know, do you want to be locking into him? And we don't even know, are they going to say, look, we've got the depth of starting pitching. You can always put him back into the rotation, but he held up better out of the bullpen. And does he go back and does he become a left-handed weapon? I think that's one of the things that they've got to decide this year. So we're all in agreement. Kris Bubic is definitely going to be tendered. Is John Schreiber? I think we're all in agreement on that one as well, aren't we? I would say yes, David.
Yeah, I mean, again, solid middle relief. He can't be your third best reliever. He cannot. But
Right.
if he's your fifth or sixth best, you have a good bullpen. John Schreiber is not a bad pitcher. He's just not the third best pitcher in the bullpen.
Yeah, I would agree. Les, where are you on Schreiber? He's a yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the problem with John Schreiber is sometimes he gets overused, and when he gets overused, he gets exposed. And so I agree that if he's your third best bullpen arm, not a good idea. And usually when you keep going to him and going to him and going to him, guys figure him out, and you get a little bit tired and leave the ball over the middle of the plate. And so he's at his best when he gets a little more rest, and he's going to get a little more rest when he's in the backside of that bullpen versus being thrust into the front. So I would completely agree, and yes, I would.
Okay. All right. That gets a little harder. Now we get to the first one. Jonathan India. David, make your case.
Boy, we're only doing this for an hour, right? So I gotta go fast here.
Well,
Look,
I fast-tracked us to this one because this is the first big conversation.
So here's my problem with the MLB number. It's at 7.4 million. They based it off his $5 million base salary. He made $7 million in 2025. I don't know if they missed it. I don't know. Guys generally don't get small raises even after bad seasons in ARB3. Again, this is ARB3. He can start to look at a guy like Jorge Polanco. He can start to look at Jeff McNeil's contract. I wouldn't give him 12 million, but I think he could very easily say, hey, my 21 to 24 was on par with Jeff McNeil, and he got 4 years and 50 million. So I'm going to ask you for 11 million. I actually put him at 8 or 9 million. I can't remember what I had, but I have a very difficult time giving him that kind of money. I think it was 9 million is what I thought he was going to get, or as the mid ground number. He didn't do anything well. How do you pay that much money? $9 million. If they have $150 million payroll, that's 6% of your payroll for a guy who doesn't do anything well. Literally does nothing well. I don't know how any other way to say that.
You don't think he gets on base well? I know he didn't have the year that he used to, but are you ready to say that past years, 350 career on base percentage is gone? It doesn't happen ever again.
No, that's fair. He probably will bounce back in that regard. I just don't see it. I think all that talk at the presser was, hey, we love Jonathan India. We certainly aren't going to non-tender him. You absolutely should trade somebody to us for him because we are 100% keeping him. I don't think they can. And I think they might to trade him. Like I said, tender him. You buy yourself time, but I think he gets moved. I don't think I think they end up trading him, not non-tendering him. But if they get to that deadline, which whatever date it is, it hasn't been set yet. I don't think. If they get there and he hasn't been traded, I would non-tender him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. All right. How about you? Where do you sit, Les?
Yeah, I'll just whatever that guy just said right there. Yeah, I mean everything he said are points. I don't see him in a Royals uniform on opening day next year. It's not this. It's not any kind of hatred for the way he plays. He just did not produce. And when I'm watching a hitter, I'm watching for consistency, not perfection, because this is a hard game. And when you're facing the best in the world, if you can hit 300, I mean, goodness gracious, you're an all-star. But if we could see Jonathan India hit 250 and get on base and hit 10 home runs and a few doubles, maybe 50 RBIs, I would be happy. But he just didn't get on base enough. 1 minute he's got a crazy good exit velocity, turning on inside fastballs that are 98, and the next minute he's pulling a ball that's trying to pull a ball that's a foot outside. There's frustration. He's not a good second baseman. He's not a good outfielder at all, no matter where you put him. And so what are you going to do? DH him? I mean, he's not a DH. And so I agree with everything David said there. I mean, if you tender him, okay, then you better move him because that's the way it has to be. But I just don't see him in a Royals uniform.
Okay, so you're both no, flat no.
Yes, no.
Okay. I am a yes. because I think the past track record, the on-base percentage in the past will get him there. I think second base is a spot that a lot of people are looking to fill, and I think it's also a spot that people are willing to take less defense at. I think some other people will think about him at third base as well. They'll think that they can push him around. Other people have spots at DH. I think that on-base percentage will play in today's game, and I'm willing to think that he will bounce back to what he was, that a second year in the ballpark, he can be better. I don't love the idea of Jonathan India being the everyday second baseman for the Royals, but I think there is value there. I think we're on the same page. Both of us are of the idea if you can trade him, use that piece to trade him. And I think you guys are like, if you can't get a trade for him, I'm going to cut bait. I would keep him in the mix. I mean, if nothing else, he's a veteran player that, presumably you can bring off the bench. It gets tough, though. It gets really tough to have him as a bench player. I don't mind Jonathan India at second base. I'll live with his bad defense if I think I've got Michael Massey going somewhere, right? But I do think that this is the first spot where you got to figure out what your plan is for the roster to make it fit better this year. Like, we're now into year 3 of contention. So you're not kind of working it out, kind of trying to see who this guy is, kind of trying to see who that guy is. You're starting to know who everybody is. And the idea that Michael Massey is going to morph into Jeff Kent, right, or become this big bat, I think we've seen Michael Massey will tease you, right? He's going to have streaks where you're like, wow, look at that guy. And I think the Royals in the past always fell in love with, you see that 2 weeks of Adalberto Mondesi? Forget the other 22. That's him. That's who he is. He's those 2 weeks, and we're going to build everything around him, and we're going to take the number 2 pick in the draft, and we're going to make him play someplace else. Because did you see those 2 weeks from Adalberto Mondesi? So we're going to move Bobby Witt Jr. to someplace else. It was bad logic, and I think they've got to start coming to grips with, they've got to figure out what the back of the baseball card is going to say before anybody else. But I think in this case, there is some back of the baseball card that says Jonathan India is a productive on-base guy, and so I don't want to let that go. Does that make sense?
I will make one point in favor of your argument, even though I disagree with you.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I apologize. I know this is all you. He looked amazing in spring training. And then he looked really good to start the year. Now, it was 3 games, and then he got drilled in the head. I'm not saying, and I would hate it if the Royals said, hey, it was getting hit in the head that cost him his season. It derailed everything, blah, blah, blah. I'd hate that, because put him on the IL then. If that's the case, that's your fault. But he looked everything in spring. I was there for a week, and every time I looked up, he was just hitting rockets all around, left, right, center, everywhere. He looked great. I think there is a world where you say, okay, give him another year. Give him a shot. Like, and then you've said this too, like, first year, new place is tough, like all this stuff. I understand that. I personally just don't think that it's worth the risk for 1 year of that. But I get it. I do get it.
It certainly helps if John Sherman's going to open the purse strings even more, right? Like, which we heard, hey, same number, but same number each year has been actually a little bit more. So that helps. I just go back to, you thought he was worth Brady Singer. So all of the work that you did saying he's worth this, now the 1 year has erased all of that. I think of it like this time of year in football betting, like teams that are disappointing, I always make a point to go back and look and say, okay, what did I think going in? Because if they just had a bad start, if they just had some bumps along the way, am I erasing everything that I thought about them coming up, everything that they were going into it? I need to look at them again, like K-State. Do I look at K-State last week? Everyone's like, they're a mess. They didn't win, but they covered against Baylor, and they showed to be more the team that they were supposed to be coming in than what they'd look like. I kind of feel like that is kind of the case with Jonathan India. We thought he was worth Brady Singer. Right now, he's just trash. And I know you guys didn't say that, but I would say the guys are in, listen, now we don't think he can be what we thought he could be. Like, what did we do wrong? We're changing the hitting coaches. Do we think that's going to help? Was that the problem? We'll get more into that here in a minute, but that's where I come around and saying, okay, let's give this a go. All right, let's take a break. We've got a lot more players to get to, like Maikel Garcia, like Vinny Pasquantino. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Greenlight.
Greenlight Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-thru and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Greenlight difference. Visit us today.
Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight.
This episode of Kaufman Corner is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
All right, we pick up with Kyle Wright. This is an easy one for me, David, though. You are the excuse me, I don't know what language I spoke right there. You are the arbitration expert. Where are you going on Kyle Wright?
See ya.
Yeah.
You can't get on the mound. You can't get a give him a minor league deal. That's fine. Give him a minor league deal, keep him around, give him another shot, but no.
Les?
Yeah, I haven't given up on him, but I'm not. There's nothing in the big leagues with injuries and all that says anything. I think that just giving him a minor league contract is a great idea. Let him pitch through it. Let's see if he can figure this out. And maybe on the backside, this would be a great problem to have in 2 years if he was viable and available and he figured things out. But right now, there's just nothing there. So I agree that it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I the answer is no. I like the minor league contract idea, but Jeff Passan wrote the arm, and one of the things he wrote in it was the most reliable indicator of whether or not a guy's going to be hurt is, has he been hurt? The answer is yes. This was great. This was worth a flyer. The idea being that he would give you, I think in the back of their heads, 100 innings somewhere. Probably this year. It didn't come to fruition, and I think now you've proven to yourself that with Ryan Bergert, Stephen Kolek, Cole Reagans, you can find other arms that are out there, so you don't need to be chasing the hurt train to fill innings. And you've got a depth of rotation. The fact that they have found those other guys, you're in a different situation now from when you brought him in. So I think the answer is no. If you can find it, if he'll sign for the deal you want, the minors, great. Otherwise, no.
The other thing that I think is important here that we didn't even talk about, these are 40-man spots too that are valuable. And so can you really give a 40-man spot to a guy who you don't even know is going to pitch? I mean, that's part of it too. So you're paying, what's the estimate? 1.8 million. Let's call it 2 million just for a round number. That, whatever, 2 million is nothing to a big league team, although they do add up. But the 40-man spot's valuable because there's 40 of them, and you might need that to get somebody else. So I think that adds value to all these deals, and there's just no reason to give him a 40-man spot.
But let me add to this, that as a guy that was fighting for that 40th spot on a 40-man roster, back then 25 was sneaking in as the 25th person, that matters to people like me. That matters to guys coming up trying to prove themselves and get their career started. So you waste a spot on somebody like this, you could potentially be delaying somebody that could really help you now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you taking a look at your minor leagues, do you think you've got help coming in the near future? Which there's not a lot that's knocking on the door right now, so that's
right
to file away as well. All right, Kyle Isbell. I think this is pretty easy. We're all a yes on this one, correct? David?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good defense.
Yeah. There's nothing even to talk about. Now we get a little bit more complicated, though. Bailey Falter. First of all, the name scares you. A pitcher whose name is Falter. I said that when they acquired him. We did not see much. He had a pretty good stretch with the Pirates going when they acquired him, but we didn't see any of it in Kansas City. David, is this a kind of what I talked about with Jonathan India? We acquired him for a reason. There's something there. We just got to go find it. And so you keep him around because you can never have too much pitching, or are you done with him?
I mean, I don't know that it's a little different because I think they acquired him because they had 3 pitchers in the rotation and said
the number's 3.3 million, by the way, that they're projecting.
Yeah, which is again not a ton. Again, that adds up, but also in a vacuum, it's not a ton for a big league team. My opinion, this might surprise you. I would keep him.
Okay.
And here's the problem. The problem with keeping him is he has no options. And so if you keep him on the big league roster, you got to keep him on the big league roster. You cannot send him to AAA. I think that 2 things can happen with a guy like Bailey Falter. One, they have a lot of injuries on this pitching staff. There is a lot of uncertainty. There is depth, and we can get to this, but we don't know what Kris Bubic will look like. We don't know what Ryan Berger will look like. We saw Cole Reagans a little bit, but he's still the question mark is much smaller, I think, but there's still a question mark there. Seth Lugo, it's a back injury. That rest generally helps that, but we didn't see him for the last month, and we wish we hadn't seen him for the month before that. There are a lot of questions on this pitching staff. I don't think it's the worst thing to keep a guy who generally has been a quality number 5 starter in his career and see what happens, because then what will happen on March 22nd, some pitcher on some team will go down. They'll go, we have 4 starters. We can't start the year with a bullpen game. And they'll trade for Bailey Falter. And the Royals will get a guy who we will never hear of again. But they'll make that deal. But it's an insurance policy. It's a $3.3 million insurance policy to me.
Okay. Les, where do you sit?
I'm a no on this one. I slightly would disagree, only because I feel like with all the pitching injuries the Royals had, it was an anomaly. It was so many guys getting hurt at kind of the same time, which is rare. And yes, you have to protect from that, but I don't think Bailey Falter is a protection answer to be worrying about, okay, we're going to have 5 guys on our pitching staff get hurt, 3 starters and the bullpen or whatever it may be. And so at this stage, I wouldn't be as concerned about it to the point where I would keep Bailey Falter. I do think that there's credence to what David said, based on you could at least maybe get something from him, and you'll probably never hear from him again. And, again, he did show some stuff with the Pirates, and then he came here and he didn't show anything with the Royals. And so you can't put an indictment on one little season. I mean, Soren, you're a guy that would always say you have to focus on somebody's full body of work, not just a particular season that they're in. And I appreciate that in sports as well as in life, because we're all so quick to judge. I'm not judging him based on just what he had with the Royals, but I'm just judging it based on what the Royals have, based on the arbitration number. I just don't think this is necessarily as difficult of an issue. So I would say no, with a slight lean toward in the middle, but I would still say no. I probably wouldn't necessarily need to tender.
Yeah, I say yeah, I'm fine either way. Like if I were one of the guys in the room, my hand would go up for yes. But if I were outgunned, to be like, let's move along. I'm not beating on a desk.
Not the battle to fight.
Yeah, right, and I think he almost brings us to Daniel Lynch, because I think it's like you're going to keep one or the other. And so if the vote was Daniel Lynch is going to be cheaper, and realistically Bailey Falter, I know they went through a ton of injuries and they ended up needing Bailey Falter to start. So that's part of what you're. Like, hey, we did have to start Bailey Falter for a reason. So, like, we need to consider these guys as starters as well as just relievers. And so if you're like, we feel better, Bailey Falter's got a better body of work when he has to start. So that's the reason we're going to keep him. Again, see what is John Sherman giving you per strings. And I'll be honest with you, I'll just take a moment to say I'm disappointed that J.J. Picollo and John Sherman don't have a number. Right? Like, I think there should be a number that he's working with. And I think there probably is. I think that's overstated when he said we haven't had the conversation. I think they haven't had a conversation of like, it's direct, but I think they've been told, listen, we're around the same number. Hit me up if you got, we've got a chance to acquire somebody that's a real difference maker. So I think he's got a ballpark. I don't want to make too much of that, but I would like to know, like, to me, I don't understand why we can't have a spreadsheet. All the salary cap trackers will tell you exactly what you're, obligated year over year over year. If I'm JJ Picollo, I want a number that is our base on what you're projecting business-wise to do. Okay, this year we're 145. There's different ways to count it. Are we counting the benefits that go with it? Are we counting the luxury tax number? 130 something is what most people would say this payroll is. There are other numbers that'll say it's 160 something it was. Let's take what's just the payroll part of the equation. The 138, I think, is the number that they have. So I'd like to know 145 is where I've got to go. And then I've got 150, 155, 160. And if we get there and you say, listen, it's been a bad year, all our other businesses crap the bed, or we've got to all come out of pocket for stadium stuff. And so now I'm going to have to take your 150 down to 125. You got to make some changes. Fine. We'll adjust as we go, but I'd like to know that number. And if I know I've got some cushion, I want all left-handed pitching. I want to control all left-handed pitching because I think someone will need it along the way. And I think, to your point, David, if Bailey Falter pops a couple of good spring training innings, I think he could, get you something. And I'm always for a 18-year-old with a live arm who can't control the baseball. Let's try to control that and see if we can get something. I think you could probably get that. So it's a yes, but I wouldn't fight for it. And on Daniel Lynch, I'll go first. It's yes because he's left-handed, and I think I can do something with him. But again, I'm not fighting to make sure it's him. He's under, what was he? What was his number they're projecting for him? 1.3.
3.
So
yeah,
we're around league, but you're not going to find a veteran for for that number anyway. So I'm yes on that. David?
I'm a slight no on Lynch. I'm the same way as you on Falter. I don't care. One way or another. The thing about Lynch that I think is appealing, he does have options. So you can send him to AAA, which allows some flexibility. And the Royals didn't have any flexibility in their bullpen this year. They really didn't. They weren't able. Jonathan Bolin had to go down, I think it was 73 times because they had no flexibility. He was the only guy they could send down without losing him a lot. And so Lynch, I guess, obviously was one, but they weren't going to send him down. I don't care if you do. I don't care if you don't. It's fine either way. He's a very, I like Daniel Lynch, the person. He's a very forgettable pitcher. In 5 years, we will not, other than the fact that he was part of that 2018 draft class, there's not going to be a lot of conversation about Daniel Lynch.
We've seen some flashes here and there. We've also seen some bad pitching, and I think
the end of 24, he was dominant.
He was dominant.
Didn't pitch a postseason inning.
Right, and that's what makes me think they knew exactly who he was, and they knew they couldn't get him around a playoff caliber bat because they didn't. He's left-handed, and he didn't come into play anywhere. Les, where do you sit?
I'm a slight yes on Lynch for the two reasons. It's not a lot of money, and you have options. Plain and simple, cut and dried. Again, you can send him down if you need to trade him if he's not performing and they feel like he just needs to change the scenery. You can get something from him. You have control, and it's not a lot of money. So I would say slight yes.
Okay, which takes us now to Sam Long. I think my answer. I'll go first, and then Les, we'll let you take it. But just controlling the left-handed pitching, I'm going to do it. Where are you, Les?
So you're saying yes with Sam Long?
Yes, I'm a yes. But I again, everyone else says no. We have a money crunch. I'm happy to move on.
Yeah,
I'll say yes.
I'm a no on this. I feel like I've seen enough of him. I mean, he's streaky, but I feel like oftentimes he's not like the big game guy unless you have to. And then you put him in those situations, and I feel like oftentimes the flashes of brilliance that he can have sometimes for me aren't enough to keep him because it just feels like there's some inconsistencies before. I think he has a nasty changeup. I really think I see some nasty pitches. It's just sometimes he doesn't use them in ways that he should, or he hangs them in difficult situations. And then sometimes he'll come in when you have a 4 or 5 run lead, and he looks like Cy Young. It baffles me. And so for me with Sam Long, I would say no. I'm even ready to move on from him, and somebody else, some other team can have him, and which is great for him. But yeah, just a no.
When we hear Falter, Lynch, Long in a row, it's fun that they came up together. Like somebody's got to be moved.
Yes,
probably be a part of a throw in here. David, where are you on Long?
Sam Long had a 2.81 ERA in the second half. Do you believe that? I'm a no.
I actually do.
He had a 2.81 ERA. He also gave up 5 unearned runs in 25 innings. So still gave up those runs. No, I he's the same. I don't care either way, but no options. They found him off the scrap heap. There's another Sam Long out there.
So you're a no.
I don't care if they signed to a minor league deal, but sign 4 of them, to minor league deals. I'm a no on the tender.
You're a dog. Okay, what a pump fake there. I'd already put you down with yes. You said, did you
know?
Oh, he said yes.
Broke my ankles on that one.
Yeah, I know. Holy cow, man. Nice cutback. I like the way you stuck your leg in the ground and turned it upfield.
Thank you.
Vinny Pasquantino. Yes. Right? Anyone?
Well, let me argue. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, make an argument for no. I mean, I think the only argument, the only conversation here, Les, is getting the long-term deal together. And based on when his age of when he's going to reach free agency, because he's older to reach the big leagues, the math says you don't need to do that because you're buying into years where he figures to be on the downslope. But he's such the heartbeat of the team that if you're going to sign Maikel Garcia and add him to Bobby Witt Jr., I mean, it is kind of, this tandem of guys that you have all together. Especially if you're going to go give Jack Caglione a contract as well, which I don't think they are. So, but there are teams that would, but they're not. I think we saw the Bobby Witt path. They're going to want to see Jack hit a little bit, and I think JJ follows what when I asked Dayton Moore when he first got to town, hey, are you going to be locking young guys up? He said, I'd rather wait longer, pay more, and know what I'm getting. Right, and I think that's how JJ is going to proceed. So I don't think but if you're going to give Caglione a contract, you got to trade Vinny Pasquantino. Like, you can't make Jack Caglione making more money than Vinny Pasquantino the way Vinny Pasquantino does everything right the way you want it. So I do think that's part of the equation here is are you going to give him a contract? But if you're not giving Caglione a contract, I don't think they are. I think you're just kind of playing this out. But he is going to at some point be like, hey, I've done all that I can do. What do I got to prove? Right? Les?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's me, I'm actually going to go ahead and try to put a deal together and get with his agent. And I mean, obviously it's a big yes. I would do that because Salvi is kind of on the decline as far as that guy that everybody rallies around. He's still there. He's still Salvi. They still love him. But Vinny, I feel like, is kind of moving into Salvi's place as the heartbeat of that team. And that's a big deal. And it's a big deal, especially when you're putting up 30 and 100. And so, when he's healthy, we see what he can do. So, yeah, I would sign him and he let him be one of the guys. I know it might be tricky with the numbers and all that, but if it's me, I'm locking that guy down for those few reasons.
They've got him, David, for 28, 29, 30, right? Those are the years that they've got him for. So you're going to be locking up 31, 32. You feel like that his swing, his game is still going to be productive, 31, 32, 33, if you're talking about 6 years?
Baseball wise, I would not do it.
Okay. Would he do it?
Contract.
Would he do it? Does he want to be hitting free agency? What kind of contract is it going to take for him to want to sign it?
I kind of get the feeling he would do it. I think he likes where he is. I think he's not. I don't think he comes from. I could be wrong here. I don't think he comes from money. So I think that actually a big contract is appealing to him. It's not that he's dirt poor or anything, but I think he would do it. Where it gets complicated is the non baseball card part, the part of his friendship with Bobby Witt, his comrade, the clubhouse chemistry, all that. I think that's where it gets to be interesting. The Royals have shown. I mean, they traded Freddie for me, and I keep coming back to that. It's kind of the one thing they've done, but they made a move that they didn't really care about. They cared about the move that made the baseball team better and not necessarily the move that made the clubhouse better. And I don't think that they will always go that route, but they've shown that they will be a little cold and calculating.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they will do it. It's I'm like 70% no, 30% yes, but that's not a strong conviction to not do it.
And I want to remind people we're talking about giving him an extension.
Yes,
right? We're not
100%.
If
he's not a Royal in 2026, they better get 2 corner outfielders and a number 3 pitcher because he means too much to the team. He's not worth that, by the way, but he means too much to the team to move him from this team.
I would be okay for the culture you're trying to build, because I also don't think it's going to be a backbreaker if Vinny Pasquantino ends up being part of a platoon on the last year or two of a deal. But what I would do is take advantage of where you are now. Economically, I think things are going to go up. You've got streaming services coming in. You're not going to make jumps like the NFL is, but I think you're going to make jumps money-wise. And I think paying him more now to have him at less later would be the wise way to do that contract, and not just backload everything the way things usually work. Angel Zerpa, are we all yeses on the arbitration on that one? I am a yes. David?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, all right.
Me, but yeah.
Okay. Because I think that's an interesting one for me because he is annoying, right? That's the best way to put it, is that he's annoying. goes about doing things and how inconsistent he is. All right, we've got more players to get to. We still want to talk about the hitting coaches, Michael Massey, Maikel Garcia, Lucas Urseg. We're going to talk about them. We'll do it after you hear from our friends from Italian Delight. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight.
This episode of Kaufman Corner is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
Let's talk about Michael Massey, David. I assume this is a yes, but with, a squint or something at least because of the season he had.
Yeah, he had a tough year, and it wasn't injury related. I don't think early. He came back from the injury and was really good.
But he got 4 hits on the last day.
He did. He has 4 hits in his last 1 game played. That is a pace. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't love to do this. No, I do. That's 600 plus hits over the course of a season. That's never been done. Yeah, that's the pace he finished on. I think what you get. Look, he looked really good in left field. I thought, maybe not really good. He looked good in left field. Let's back that up a little bit. I thought he looked good there. He's obviously a good second baseman. He showed in 2024 that he could be a part of a bottom of the lineup, and I think the Royals, in my opinion, they have 2 big needs: middle of the order bat, complimentary bat. He could be a complimentary bat. Can you count on him? I don't know. But for 1.2 million or whatever the number is, 2 million, I can't remember. It's so inexpensive. And he is a big part of the clubhouse too. But I think it's an easy yes. I don't think he gets another shot after 26 if it doesn't work out, but I think it's an easy yes for 26.
Yeah, it's time to go for him. He needs to get it done, but he's going to get the chance. I'm a yes. Les, are you a yes?
I'm a yes, like you guys said, based on one more shot. I mean, I've said this on here. I've said it a lot. It's hard for me to keep watching a kid that has such good defensive talent, and he can hit, but someone has to change the swing with him a little bit because he still hits way too many pop-ups. He is not going to hit 25 or 30 home runs, at least most likely. If he does, great. If he changes his body type, great. But it's so hard to watch pitches that he should drive and pop the ball up. You just can't keep doing that over and over again. And I hope going into spring training or this offseason, that's something they're going to address. So yes, they should, especially if he's going to, get in your mix. He's not the India. He's the one guy that can play a great second base and a good left field, like David said. And that's great. That's valuable to have a left-handed bat. It's valuable to have. But, man, there's got to be some adjustments on the offensive side. So I'm going to say yes for now. But if 2026, if he stays healthy, if 2026 he doesn't improve, then I'm ready to move on.
MJ Melendez, flat no, right? There's just no way. I don't even – if anyone's got something you could say, feel free.
No.
But no.
Okay. I wish it was a yes.
Yeah.
It's not.
Michael Garcia, go ahead.
I was just going to say, can we just add that for MJ Melendez being in the minor leagues and making this kind of money? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
for a guy who was in the minor leagues and didn't make that kind of money, it's a real wow for you.
Yeah.
It seems like not a complimentary wow. I don't know. Just my
Hey, it's not an insult though. It's like
Yeah.
if you can have that kind of production and be in the minor leagues and still be making that kind of money, man.
He's got to be picking up the check at every meal, isn't he? Like everyone at the table, it's on him. Give it to him. This guy over here, he's paying.
Yeah.
I'm following him after games to restaurants.
Yeah,
that Omaha team had a lot of big leaguers, so maybe not, but yeah, he picked up a lot of checks.
Maikel Garcia is a yes for everybody, obviously, but do you think they get a deal done? Do you think this is when they lock him up this offseason? They put a multi-year deal together, David?
I do. I think they do. Yeah. I keep teasing that I'm going to put. I'll give you a little background. My dad was a real estate appraiser before he retired, and it's funny when I like to do these contract extension articles to look at like what they could make, and he always talks about you do it exactly the same way that I used to appraise houses, and then looking at comps and all that. I go, well, I come by it honestly. So I like doing those. I just haven't put it together yet for him, but I think they get a deal done. I think they like he's a dynamic player. He's a great defender. The offense came around, all that. Yeah, I think they get it done. I don't know if they get it done before the deadline to tender him. So I think I think it'll happen before the season starts, though.
He is quietly going to be a little bit older than people may realize because they control him for 26, 27, 28, and 29-year-old seasons. So you're buying 30, 31, 32. But he is an athlete. He figures to age better than a Vinny Pasquantino will. He's more Johnny Damon and Carlos Beltran than Mike Sweeney. Right. Like, so there's a reason to maybe invest longer in him, but should be known they do control him all the way through age 29, the 29 season. So that's of note, but I do expect them to try to get something done with him as well. Cause I think if you get something done with him, it also, if on down the road, you need to trade him, it figures to be a benefit to being able to move him. James MacArthur, David, James MacArthur.
If you forgot he existed, I don't blame you. I actually saw him at the last homestand. Maybe the second to last game of the season, third last game, somewhere in there.
First time in the stands.
he was getting a hot dog. Bought for no, he was in the dugout, lined up for the national anthem. I think a good story, and maybe somebody's going to get a really good reclamation project here, but missed the whole season when he was supposed to miss 6 weeks. There's something going on there. I would say no. If again you want to bring him on a minor league deal, that's fine, but no.
Yeah, I'm a no for the minor league deal plan as well. I don't know where, he's 27. What is the number? I didn't even look.
It's under $1 million.
It's 800,000. Yes. They might, but again, like you said, it's a 40-man spot. Like at some point, how are all these guys going to fit? So I think that might be the crunch. Les, where are you?
I think it's the 40-man spot crunch. I would say no, nothing against him, but there's not really anything there that says that you really need to do that to take up the spot. So I would say move on.
Okay, and then we're all yeses on Lucas Erceg, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's not a whole lot there. So to sum up, no on MacArthur, no on Melendez, universally. Sam Long, you two are no. I'm a yes. Daniel Lynch, David's a no. Les and I are a yes. Bailey Falter, Les is a no. David and I are a yes. We're all no on Kyle Wright. David and Les are no on Jonathan India. I'm a yes. And then we're yeses on everybody else. So that's where it is. Let's wrap with the hitting coaches. You guys had the information last week. We're the first ones to put it out there here on this podcast that the Royals were not going to retain two of their hitting coaches in, Keone Dorena and Joe Dillon. Now that's been made official. What does it mean to you, David? Like, where are they going with this? What does that signal that it's official? Alex Zumwalt stays, these guys go.
It to me says, and there are two ways to look at it. The first one that I think is what it says is we don't have a problem with the message. We have a problem with the messengers. And Alex Zumwalt was not the messenger. He was the one putting the message out there for them to deliver. And Drew Saylor lost his, well, again, they didn't lose his job. They didn't renew his contract, which is the same thing in practice, but in theory, but it's not in practice. I think that they did not believe the message was being delivered correctly. And maybe, I don't know who they is. I don't know if that's JJ Piccolo. I don't know if that's Mac Potrero. I don't know if that's Alex Zumwalt. Somebody didn't think that those guys, and I've heard there are others in the minors that we just don't know their names because they're they're lower level guys that the average person doesn't know who they are. I've heard they're moving on from them too. So there's going to be, I would say, 7 to 10 new voices in the organization come March, probably come next month. Honestly, I think that they believe in the message that Alex Zumwalt puts out there, which is a very basic one. It's swing it. The first 2 pitches are yours. up to 2 strikes is yours. At 2 strikes, it's the pitcher. Hit on your terms until 2 strikes, then hit on their terms on 2 strikes, make contact. And I think that they just don't think the message is being delivered correctly. And it's a risk on their part, because if it's wrong, they look really bad and might cost them their job. And if it's right, they look brilliant. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Les, I mean, everyone says they'll be picked up immediately. So the industry already says that like those guys are not going to be looking for a job for long, which means the industry still really respects what they're doing, but the Royals are moving on. And I'm okay with that. I mean, you can just need a new voice. You can need somebody else to step in there. So I get that. But I think this is, I think, you got to be adults in the room and step back and say, okay, what are we really saying here when we do this? And I think what you're saying, to your point, is like, okay, we have the right message, but it's not being delivered. Well, how did these guys get it put in this place? Is this, you put Alex Zumwalt at the top and you put people under him that he never wanted, and so all along he's like, I don't want these guys. I don't want these guys. And now, are you going to let Alex Zumwalt pick the people under him to deliver his message? Or was this a case that you put Alex Zumwalt in, and it was his first time as a big league hitting coach, and you gave him his own people because you want him to not have any excuses, and he made the wrong hires. He put the wrong guys around him. At which point now you're saying, okay, you were young, you were green, we still believe in what you can do, but these were the wrong guys, and now try again? And now we're going to pick the guys for you? It doesn't look like, based upon their resumes, that Alex Zumwalt went out and identified these guys. It looks like they went, here's what the industry says. We're going to bring them in. We want them to follow the Alex Zumwalt philosophy. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I think there has to be some accountability, right? This has to be less Alex Zumwalt. No matter what you do, it has to work with him this time. You can't keep replacing everybody under him and saying it's not him, right? This will very quickly, if they don't hit immediately next year, you are going to have a toxic situation like you had with Cal Eldred.
Yes, I absolutely agree. If you are the hitting coach, if you are the head guy in the arena of hitting, okay, and you should be in control of those guys underneath you, and you should be saying, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and this is how we're going to package it. And then you end up not retaining the guys underneath you. And you said so much of it there, Soren. What does that say? Does it say that we don't trust our hitting coach to make wise decisions? Are we going to go ahead and say, okay, well, we picked them for you. It didn't work out. You're not happy. The players want you. And so we're just going to go ahead then. Now you go ahead and pick. There's so many things that we don't know. Here's what I know about Joe Dillon. I don't know Keone Duren. I know this about Joe Dillon. We played together. He is a high character guy. I know he works tirelessly. Behind the scenes, Joe Dillon is a guy that does not want and does not need accolades. He doesn't need you to come in and say, in my opinion only, he doesn't need you to come and say, hey, I'm the reason that you're hitting. He wants to set guys up to be the best possible hitter they can be for the team. I know that Joe is, in talking with Joe, I know he's very, very thankful to even have a job. He's just a humble guy. He loved Kansas City when he was here. He thought he was treated really well. And so, those are all good things, but that's the sentimental part. Unfortunately, we don't hire and fire people or not retain people based on that. So I'll end with this and say that if this does go bad and the Royals are the same or worse than they were this year compared to what they should be, then they need to just go ahead and start this whole thing. This is back in the day when, you can have a hitting coach and then you have an assistant hitting coach. Okay, great. I know analytics come into play, but when you get the head guy and then this guy does this in hitting and this guy does this in hitting, and then, by the way, these guys do this in hitting, there are too many egos. There are too many opinions. There are too many ways of going about different hitters and all that. How can you not have negative issues within that group? And so then this is what you get by having too many people in this area. I think they hire, this isn't the Royals, it's Major League Baseball. They hire too many guys to try to handle these hitters. And these hitters have egos and they have things they like and things they don't like. And every hitter's different. Some guys you talk right here. Other guys you got to go in here because they receive messages different. So it just becomes a whole discombobulated scene. Minimize the number of guys that you hire. Let the head guy deal with it, but he's also got to be the most accountable. And so it comes down to your point, Soren. If this doesn't work, it makes the Royals look bad, and then you're going to have to eventually move on. Then they're going to say, well, we should have moved on last year. We kept him 1 year too long.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see who they bring in, right, and what the resumes and the backgrounds are of those players. You know, we knew change was coming. I think when they said we're keeping Alex Zumwalt, we're evaluating the others, and the writing was on the wall that this was going to happen. The real evaluation will come when we see what names are put in there, you know, and what level of experience do they have. Are a bunch of minor league guys plugged in underneath, and so your people are going to be like, oh, we're looking for yes men. Okay, I get it, which is fine as long as they're saying yes to the right message. But there's a lot that's riding on this. I do think this is the first time that it's going to be like, this is all J.J. Piccolo. This is all Matt Quatrero. This is all their regime, and they will wear the full brunt of it. It's not about like, oh, well, you didn't have this or that. It will all be about what they've done. So it's interesting. Listen, it's all about our fine sponsors. Please, if you want to support the Kaufman Corner podcast, we'd love for you to support our great sponsors like Greenlight Dispensary. 15 locations in Missouri, more on the way. Greenlight is your go-to for all your cannabis needs. Tell them you saw them right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. By our friends at Frontier Justice with locations in Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top gear, and a strong sense of community. Learn more, frontier-justice.com, and our friends at Italian Delight. Our buddy Renee, you see him in the chat room from time to time. He's a viewer of the Kaufman Corner podcast. Go see him right there. You'll see him spinning the pizzas. That's him in the ad that we run. First restaurant in Kansas City to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. How about lunch today? Daily lunch special starting at under $10. They cater as well, just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway. Order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For David Lesky, for Les Norman, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.